Hi, us again. My name is Will,
Hello, and I'm Johnny.
and together
We
we're
are
Will
And Johnny.
and Johnny. Hi, guys. Johnny,
Hello.
today.
So today, Will, the question on my mind is the place.
Of course.
Do you have the right place for food now? And I think it's a wide contextual question about how real estate has changed so much. The different types.
Yeah,
It used to be a slam dunk, didn't it? I mean, if you were in an office location, you put in, I don't know, Pret a Manger or Dean and David, and it was just
and it works.
epic.
Yeah,
And then along came the wonderful COVID years, which caused us all massive problems, presented some new opportunities, made us look at things in a different way. And I sort of want to explore today the different sectors of the property industry and how they've changed and morphed a little bit. So who's the leading light? Which sector for you is the leading light at the moment in food service and property?
so since we do this now for a while, I think there's three, I think in my head is three. One, the outlet center category somehow found a way to outperform the retail sector quite dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
As you rightfully said, and when we discussed this earlier, kind of a flexibility in the way how they do things. But this is something which is undoubtedly there, and it doesn't really matter who operates.
Yeah.
The second sector, which I think we also discussed in the past, is the market whole approach in general, going away and create a food and beverage experience, whereas it's just another food court, is the second element. And my third, in my personal opinion, is because of the seismic shift of how people behave, what was an irrelevant area at the beginning, the area where you lived, the little town, the little village, the smaller town, was not very relevant in the past. The secondary city or kind of third level cities. I think that area is overlooked and has a significantly stronger potential.
Was. I think, we just have to see in every country in Europe now how much more facilities, services, food service are being built in those smaller towns, those smaller cities, because people are not travelling so much from there to their workplace as much as they used to. They're conducting more business at or near home. I love that expression, at or near home. But it sums it up beautifully. You walk down the road, you have a meeting at a local coffee shop round the corner from where you live, rather than crossing a city or going by train to another city. And I think you're absolutely right. That sector of underdeveloped, probably, and there are companies around the world that are doing superb business, building multiple operations there and having great success because their consumers are spending a lot more time at or near home. So that's really smart, and you've seen that in every brand as well, starting to develop more urban, more local, smaller, lower expectation on turnover, but also lower rents,
lower costs, potentially better access to staff potentially. But from the intro when you started saying it, but I think what kind of overarching all this is the cookie cutting times are over. I think it's fair to say. The thing is, whatever worked in the past always, it's not as easy anymore. Is that right? It's not a kind of just do the same thing what you always did.
You're right, and in some ways, but I wouldn't want to offend anybody. When you're an early stage in the market, but when you're an early stage in any market, you don't really go wrong. When we were building shopping centres, the first shopping centres across Europe,
of course,
you could build them almost anywhere, and they were
no-brainers.
There weren't any
because there was nothing there.
But you're absolutely right.
I rephrase this.
You're absolutely right. I think it's the cookie cutter. There's a lot more intellectual stuff has to go into. You mentioned the first thing you mentioned actually was the outlet industry.
Yes.
And that for me is really interesting because I did a lot of work in the outlet industry with Joey Camphor and the MacArthur Glen Group very early on. And the struggle we always used to have was this boom and bust, this incredible, huge amount of volume at the weekends and nothing during the week. And trying to get a restaurateur or a caterer to operate in those environments was almost impossible. Then the leasing structure changed. And they became even more flexible. And then investment went in, so the operators didn't have to find all the money. And sure as hell, it then started to smooth out the footfall as well. So more people came during the week because there was a better food service.
Keyword is flexibility.
Yeah, it sort of half fixed the problem as well. And so now you've got some spectacularly good outlets,
fantastic,
with some brilliant
fantastic,
food offers,
and
nicely
really
curated.
Nicely curated. Not just a plug-in of the usual suspects. Some individual stuff, some good QSR, some really cool things. But what you just said, I think, is resonates a lot, and probably also with our audiences. It was the ability to adapt, to look at the market and say, hey, the market demands this.
Yeah.
I cannot keep saying this is what we do. I have to adjust to what the market does, and allow people to survive in this, because otherwise you have a constant, hire and fire thing. You could find a tenant goes bust, find a new tenant. Not a great story, and we had these a lot.
I think it helped a lot that people who were involved in leasing that were from the food service industry, who understood the dynamic of it, who understood how it needed to be very carefully curated to be able to deliver that, and understood the pain of the food operators as well, because that's something, whether you're leasing, whether you're property, whether you're owner, whether you're asset, understanding where people's pain points are also helps to solve them. You make a shed load of money on a Saturday and Sunday, and you magically can lose it on a Monday to Friday. So, that's all about getting that balance right. I think where COVID, and I don't want to keep going back to COVID, but COVID has had such a massive impact on property, on food service, on leisure, on travel. All of those industries are now, a lot of them are booming again because of people going back to enjoying and revisiting and re-engaging. But, city centres have almost suffered where smaller towns and villages have benefited. City centres have suffered, and the old slam dunk of, you could build a cafe or a restaurant pretty much anywhere in an office location and it would do fine.
Nope.
5 days a week. You didn't even need to open it at the weekend because there was nobody
there.
So you made money 5 days a week, 2 days a week, everybody was off, and it was all good. That's changed.
Yeah.
And you talk to some of the great operators out there, whether it's loungers or alchemists, and, Drake and Morgans, Alex, all of these people, they're all rediscovering how their business dynamics work.
Speaking about rediscovering, we're talking data and looking deeper into what's your business actually doing. So to fellow people out there, you need to seriously look into the data you have at hand. You cannot always just look past. You need to look in what's there, look at the customer which is there, and kind of figure out if you're still relevant for a customer to use you, especially in food and beverage.
The assumption that everything is the same is something I still come across every day.
Yes.
And when I mean that, I mean people measure footfall. So they say, well, this was pre-COVID footfall, so this was what we were doing in 2019. This is where it went down in 2020. This is where we are now in 2021.
That doesn't work that way.
2022. And I'm sort of going, okay, fine, but how is that changed? What is the nature of that footfall? When are they coming to us? Is it a different
day part? Is it a different motivation, a different mission for the people being in the same place? Are they willing to spend money?
And I'm quite surprised, and I'm sure this doesn't cover a lot, but I'm quite surprised by how many property owners haven't done that research. Because I think we're all breathing a sigh of relief that we're seeing volumes coming back, and everybody's happy that we're seeing sales returning and footfall returning. And we perhaps don't want to lift the lid on that can of worms a little bit and really get our hands mucky to find out what's going on. But I genuinely think we need to, because actually there's a bigger prize. If we can do something that is more appropriate for the future, like the factory outlet industry has done, then I think there's a bigger prize in terms of turnover, sales,
absolutely,
returns, profit, and that naughty R word, rent, as well. Because at the end of the day, that's whether we enjoy it, like it, whatever, but without rent, our industry is nothing.
No, of course.
So for me, it's sort of like, get your hands dirty, find out about that stuff.
But as you said,
learn more.
And again, not being the property person, the rent as an isolated element doesn't work. You cannot just look at it and say, hey, this is the rent, because you need to look at all the factors which you just mentioned. Where am I? Where is it? What is it? What's going on there? What's happening?
You can be controversial, can't you? I mean, I think it does work. but in certain locations. And the interesting is, in fewer locations than it used to.
Yes.
You could drive just on rent in fewer locations.
As you said before.
I'm watching what's going on in central London at the moment.
Yeah.
It is fascinating how fast the market is returning.
Yeah.
It literally is on fire. It's amazing watching.
In everything, or just in particular type of establishments?
Restaurants, leisure. Really interesting to see the quality of people, the emergence and re-emergence of great people, great brands, great businesses. And
what are the after? Is it more the fast casual? Is it more QSR? Is it
fast casual and upper? I mean, we are inundated with branded fast casual restaurants.
Yeah.
The brands from across the water are coming. You name every single brand, every burger brand, every chicken brand. I mean, chicken, if you didn't know, chicken is like the next big thing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's gone clucking mad.
Yeah.
It really has.
Unbelievable.
And we're just going to see more and more and more and more of that. But I think where I'm interested in, I was having a conversation with Chris Miller at White Rabbit Projects, and lovely guy, incredibly smart, brilliant business, now part of the McWin organisation. Just great. These guys are totally on it. And he's got restaurant business, over 60 restaurant businesses all around the world. But they put the intellect into it. They provide like the chassis of how restaurants run, and then personalise it in the different locations across brands and across individual bespoke operations. And he said, this is all about people wanting to emotionally own an experience. And so it's not about what the name is over the door. It's about whether or not they like what's going in there. And it's not saying it's one or the other is right or wrong. It's just a mix. So where you might have gone to branded restaurants all the time now, you're mixing it up. Where you would go to your favourite restaurant in the neighbourhood, you might now go to 2 or 3 favourite restaurants in the neighbourhood. Where you want to have a shouty, over-the-top, I mean, London, for me, shouty over the top. If you want to go to Sexy Fish or Bacchanalia or Ivy Asia, you're not going to have a quiet evening.
No.
Because they are super shouty. I love dressing up and it's great fun to go there. But I think that whole thing...
And it plays in a category which is probably not for everyone at the same time,
but
right?
you can emotionally own that experience. And I think that's great. And I think it allows people to do what they want to do. But more importantly, and then going back to the financial point, to a point of spend which they're comfortable with. And our industry has been terrible at this. It is always suppressed, and it's never allowed the full extension. Even now, even with all the strife and grief around the world and all the economic bad news, people are still out there spending money.
They do. They make a decision that they spend it, and if you want to be part of this, you need to think of where they do that. Yeah. You cannot force them to spend it somewhere. They have their own mind, and they're going to say, as you said.
In some cases, you can't spend it because it doesn't allow you to. Nope. I mean, I always used to joke with people that if you gave somebody €20 in McDonald's and said it's only for you, go spend €20 on food, you would be physically sick.
Yeah, it will be quite difficult.
Just you can't eat that quantity of food, and I think that whole thing around how much are you spending, what are you getting, how much are you emotionally attached to it. This is where each one of those property categories, whether it's office, urban, outlet, shopping centre, high street, needs to remeasure, reevaluate, and understand better the needs of the consumer now.
And consequently adapt to that when talking to new concepts.
Don't look back.
No, because the past, as much as it might help you, it is not necessarily the future.
Well, 2020 it changed, and it's going to change again. I have no doubt.
I have no doubt either.
But I think the smart property people are those that will be able to understand where their businesses are going, and the interplay between the different parts and components of their property will work together.
And with that, we close that session off.
Brilliant.
It was a pleasure, as always. Lovely to see you all.
Take care.
And we'll see each other soon, I'm sure.
See you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.